Oh my God, we're live. Oh my God. Hello, everyone. Right. So we finally made it. Our guest drummer is here, our awesome guest drummer. It's Sunday. It's now 5:30 in the afternoon or in the evening. In Manila, I think it will be like after midnight. But I hope that some of our friends in Manila are still watching us because this is going to be really, really amazing. Um, I just got back from Glasgow, and our guest, I think, I don't know whether he's from Glasgow or Bells Hill, but we'll ask him later. But, anyways, he's so awesome. He really is awesome. He's not, well, he's a drummer. I'm telling you, I'm so nervous because he's a drummer, a producer, a Scottish BAFTA nominated composer. He's an artist, a songwriter, manager, a blogger. He has a record label, and oh my God, he's gorgeous. Like, so I'm gonna bring him in now. My dear friends, please welcome Francis Macdonald. Oh,
Is Ringo
oh.
Starr? Look, it's Ringo. Sorry, I'm kidding on. Okay, not Ringo, it's me. Hello, sorry to disappoint.
Hello. How
Hi,
are
Anna.
you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Just got back from Glasgow, so I went to see the Bluebells on Friday nights,
Right.
and then Hunger Beat last night. Absolutely amazing. So
Yes,
yeah,
super group. Yes. Was it
yeah.
special?
Oh yes. I was hoping that you're gonna sort of like turn up and
Oh, what was I doing last night? Uh, Something really exciting and interesting. I was really busy and I couldn't go.
yeah.
I don't. I don't.
You
I don't
missed
go.
out.
I'm old and boring now. I don't go to anything unless I'm playing the drums. But yes. But I'm glad you enjoyed yourself.
Yeah, actually, the drummer of the Hunger Beat group, Stuart Kidd. I saw him last night. I talked to him, and he wanted me to say to you, "Thank you."
Oh,
So
that's nice.
that's that's a message from Stuart Kidd. But with Teenage Fan Club, it's like I am more than like 3 decades late for in the Teenage Fan Club Appreciation Society because I have no idea why I didn't listen, or maybe I didn't get to hear, or maybe it wasn't on MTV or anything like that in the 90s. But last year, Teenage Fan Club was actually my band discovery of the year. Because I
Nice.
just love Teenage Fan Club. And I'm really glad that you said yes to Ask the Drummer. I'm so honored that you're here. Also, Norman Blake was at Hungry Beat
Yes.
last night.
Yes. Good.
He's
How's he doing? Is he all right?
he was amazing. He was really good. He played with Stephen Pastel, with
Right.
Mr. Pastel, so that was brilliant. But anyways, I have to sort of like welcome you to Ask the Drummer because episode 68 is actually all about you,
Right. Right.
Francis McDonald.
Good.
So we're gonna start from the beginning. Can you just tell me where were you born and what was it like when you were growing up in the place you were born?
Let me see. I was actually born in a maternity ward in Govan on the south side of Glasgow, but then I was taken home to Uddingston. And Uddingston is about, I don't know, 10 miles out of Glasgow, kind of suburbs of Glasgow. And if you take the train from Glasgow to Uddingston and then you stay on for the next stop is Bells Hill. So I'm from Uddingston in Lanarkshire, quite close to Bells Hill, quite close to Bothwell, Motherwell, Hamilton. And yeah, I was born in 1970 and had a fairly happy childhood and was interested in music quite early on. I think I'm the youngest of five, and I think being the
Okay.
youngest, sometimes you're introduced to the influences, including musical influences of your older siblings, maybe maybe more young, an earlier stage than
Yeah, yeah.
you know than might be the case. So yeah, so
So,
yeah,
any are you from a musical family, or any siblings also into like, are they
not
musicians
really,
or
not
no?
really. When we used to have a piano in the house, and I think a couple of my sisters went to piano lessons and didn't like it and didn't stick with it, and I was never interested in plonking on the piano. And my mother was from the South Uist, which is in the Western Isles, the Outer Hebrides of in Scotland. So she spoke Gaelic and sang Gaelic. So she would sing Gaelic songs, I would play Gaelic songs, and that was so she was musical in that she was a singer, but
All right.
no one around me really played an instrument. Um,
Yeah.
but I just started to just tap things, knitting needles on the couch and things like that. I just had, I don't know where it came from, this urge to kind of tap along and drum with
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
I was maybe like, I don't know, 9 years old, 10 years old. And um, my mum she bought me a drum as a Christmas present,
All
uh,
right.
and got me hooked. And then, so she was quite encouraging. And then also she heard there was free guitar lessons at primary school. And we had an old guitar in the
Yeah.
wardrobe. So she said, if you take that guitar and go up to Anna Mallon's music class and do your free guitar lessons at school, I'll pay for drum lessons. So that
Oh,
was the
it's
deal.
yeah.
She liked to
Yeah. Yeah.
bargain. She liked the idea of the free guitar lessons, and we had a guitar. I wasn't interested in the guitar, but I thought, well, I'll do that, and I'll get drum lessons. So she did. She took me into Glasgow every day for over a year to the drum shop in Blackie Street, and a great drummer called Alan Parker
Oh wow. Yeah.
started teaching me drums. So yeah,
Yeah.
so it was an encouraging kind of environment.
Yeah. Well, that's good that you actually. She's very supportive of you. Maybe becoming a musician or a drummer, and actually you're like paid for your drumming lessons as well. So that was really good. But did you just sort of like practice at home, or did you always just go to your teacher or
Yeah, I
your
used to drum
drum?
along with records. There's a few. I was really loved the Police. Actually, when I was very young, my big sister took me to see the Police in a venue in Glasgow, which is no longer there, called the Glasgow Apollo. But it's like a kind of legendary bear pit. This eventually had to kind of pull it down because it wasn't safe. But lots of bands played there in the 70s and 80s. And
Yeah.
my sister took me to see the Police, and I checked the dates. I think it was March 1979, and I would have been 8 years old. And the
Oh wow.
support band was the Cramps. So, and then I remember me and two of my sisters, we bought the first Police album for £3. We all put £1 in each, and we owned this together at Landiston. So, the first two or three Police albums would be records I would drum along to. There was a Squeeze album. There was a Rolling Stones Greatest Hits, the Stranglers, the Raven, and Joe Jackson's Jumpin' Jive, which was more
Oh
jazz.
yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
drummed along with all those records on the headphones, and then I would go to my lesson once a week on a Saturday with Alan Parker, and didn't know anyone else to play with or how to meet anyone else, but just was drumming, just trying to get a feel for what I was doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, actually, before I ask you the next question, when you mentioned the polo, because my friend Vivian, she's the one that went with to Hungry Beat. She actually told me about the Apollo. I think it's near CCA. Is it near the CCA on sort of like
It's
Socky
it's
Hall Street?
it's not on Sucky Hill. If you walk down, it's on Renfield Street. So
Oh
you,
right,
you
okay,
walk
yeah,
down Sucky Hall Street, then take a right, and
yeah. It's just
it's
near there, but it's gone. Then it's gone now,
it's
isn't it?
gone. It's gone. The last band to play was the Style Council, in 1984, 86, 86 maybe. Um,
Yeah,
but it was legendary, and um, it was very rowdy, and I saw I saw the Police there twice. I saw Stiff Little Fingers there as well. I was very young to be getting taken to concerts, but it's very fondly remembered. I'm just a bit too young to have clear memories of it, but
Yeah.
people 5 or 10 years older than me would have very fond memories of gigs at Glasgow Apollo. I suppose the modern day version of that now is the Glasgow Barrowland Ballroom, which has got a great atmosphere as well.
Yeah. But do you remember Stuart Copeland? So like playing the drums? Do you
I do. However, I loved them all, but it was Stuart Copland was the one that you know, the bass and guitar and all that was a mystery, but drums, I've drum along to the Police, and he is an amazing drummer. He's very
Yes,
unique,
yeah,
very
yeah.
powerful, and also solid. He's so busy, but I think other people would try and be as busy as him and play around with the beat more, and they would maybe just get faster and faster, or whatever. But it's almost he's got that inventiveness while he's metronomic, which funnily enough, on television the other night, just a couple of nights ago, there was a documentary about the Police.
Oh,
What's it called? The Police in the East, I think, and it was from 1981, I think, when they won the British Rock and Pop Awards with their second album. So this is a
yeah.
documentary following them in Hong Kong and Japan, and they go into India, and I thought, I watched it the other night on BBC Four, and I thought, I probably watched this when I was 11, 12 years old and haven't seen it since. But
Yeah.
you watch these, and it's just three people, and the sound they made. I mean, uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
so Stuart Cobb would have been and I don't think you necessarily would identify his influence in how I drum now, but he'd definitely be someone that I would, drum along to and
Yeah, yeah,
admire. I can't do what he does, but he would inspire me along.
yeah, yeah. Well, also, someone called Tom, I think on Facebook is Andrew Thomas. You probably know him or something, but he wanted me to say hello to you as well, because they were at the Hunger Beat event and the
Yes,
Bluebells event last Friday as well. But so you've learned how to play the drums, but when did you start to, what was your first band after you
my
saw like
first
them?
band
Yeah.
was a band called Dare Complex, and I used to live in a flat. The family home was a upper converted flat on the main street in Uddingston, and the neighbours were deaf, so that was there was old Mister McGregor down below was very hard of hearing. So I'd be playing my drums, and that was fine. And people would walk past and go, "There's a boy up there plays the drums. Someone's playing the drums in that house." So it became people would know that, oh, that's a drummer. Anyway, so a friend who was a bit older, friend of the family, or he knew my siblings, said, "Oh, we're rehearsing, and do you want to come and play drums?" So this was a band. I was maybe, I don't know how old I was, 14, and they were
Oh,
all like 18, 19, 19, 20. They were all at
so
university.
older, yeah,
It was
yeah,
quite a big
yeah.
age gap. But we did 3 gigs, and I recorded one of them, and I've actually, at the end of the set, I played a drum solo.
Oh,
Oh God, shoot me now. Anyway, that's in a tape somewhere. But I suppose it'd be quite funny to see this wee 14-year-old boy with glasses doing a drum solo. But so that was my first, and they liked bands like, well, they all had different tastes. Um, People liked heavy metal and Floyd, and people liked Sisters of Mercy and goth, and somebody like U2, and they liked
yeah,
New Order, and I didn't really know what I liked. I liked the Police and Dexys Midnight.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So were you just doing covers, or did you
oh,
have your own
we did a
music?
couple of covers. We did Age of Consent by New Order, but we did they wrote songs, and I would drum along, and um, and it just kind of fizzled out. Managing to do 3 gigs was an achievement, but that was we'd rehearse, and it was quite fun to play with other musicians instead of on my own or along with records. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so that was the very first experience. Uh,
Well, you obviously didn't do a sort of like a recording, because when I checked your Discogs entry, there are loads of bands that you mentioned. So like you were in loads of different bands, but not that first one.
No,
I don't think you did any recording or
no,
so.
their conflicts will have to remain in the memory. Well, there's the cassette somewhere with my drum solo, but I'm not going to get that out. But
Oh, you
no,
know,
the then I I suppose the first band, the first time I did any recording, it was for a B side for the BMX Bandits. That was the
all
first
right.
time playing drums in a studio.
Yeah.
So yes, it starts then about 1987, I think, when I would have been
But
16.
before, because I found out that there's actually a band called the Boy Hairdressers, which
Yes,
is like, this is like when I saw who the members of the Boy Hairdressers. They're like Norman Blake, Raymond McGinley, and yourself. And it was sort of like, is this sort of like pre Teenage Fan Club? Then,
yes, exactly that. What happened was I at school, a friend of mine was playing in a wind band, kind of a brass and woodwind orchestra uh, with different schools. There was, I think, 3 or 4 schools all fed into this wind band, the Motherwell District Concert Band. My friend said, "We haven't got a drummer. Why don't you come and play drums?" And I used to go along and get a run over with a drum kit and play along. I'd play Glenn Miller music and James Bond themes, and there was a Morricone piece.
okay,
And
yeah.
on saxophone was Joe McClendon. He was in the saxophone section. And so Joe McClendon had his own band, the Groovy Little Numbers. He was also in BMX Bandits, and he was also in the Boy Hairdressers. And he said to me, um, "Francis, I'm in this band that need a drummer to record the B side, which was the BMX Bandits, and I'm in this other band who need a drummer to play a gig, which was the Boy Hairdressers." So
Oh,
Joe invited me, and that's when I first met Douglas Stewart from BMX Bandits and Norman Blake, and later Raymond McGinley. So the Boy Hairdressers used to rehearse in Norman's grandmother's house, and Norman wrote the songs, and he sang in a falsetto voice, and the other members were Jim Lambie, Joe McClendon, and then later, after the first gig, Raymond McGinley joined, and we we played in London a couple of times. We supported Primal Scream and Dinosaur, and we played, I think, Aldershot and a few different odd places. But I was a
yeah.
good bit younger than the rest, and I felt a little out of my depth. I suppose I wanted to go to university, and so we did a few gigs and we recorded one single, but I didn't stay with them. But we stayed.
Okay.
We didn't fall out. I just said, "Oh, I'm not going to do this." So that you're
Yeah.
right. They were kind of the precursor to Teenage Fan Club, because when that band stopped, Raymond and Norman stayed together, writing songs and recording demos.
Yeah. And then Jerry Love sort of like joined them, and that's when they became Teenage Fan Club. But you're the original. I found out that you're actually the original drummer of Teenage Fan Club. Is that
Well,
right?
I suppose so, but they didn't. They weren't even called Teenage Fan Club then. Norman and Raymond asked me to do this, and we kept, because we hadn't fallen out. We kept in touch. Would I drum on this recording? And I thought, well, I'm going to university. I can't stay with the band, but it'd be nice to play on an album and have a CD. That was what I thought at the time. So
Okay. Yeah.
I rehearsed with them, and I was lit. And then there was a Dinosaur Junior gig at Glasgow College of Technology, and I knew Jerry Love from other music stuff. But he said to me that night, he said, "Oh, Norman's just asked me to join the band." I said, "All right, good, welcome," Um,
Yeah.
and then we did rehearsals, and we went to the studio, and the drum tracks were all done in one day. There's actually, you can kind of tell, and I took my drums home and just left them to get on with it to finish the record.
Yeah.
So they hadn't got the name yet, and they hadn't done any gigs. So in a way, I was there before the original drummer. I feel like Brendan played on some of the record and did their gigs with them and all the rest of it, and that's when they became the band. But I was there at the start. I think
Yeah.
they did Everything Flows, for example, which was a very big track for them. But when we first recorded it with me drumming, it was quite tame, the guitar sounds.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Later on, they went back and they got kind of turned up the distortion and had a more powerful sound, and I wasn't really part of that. But I tell people this: we didn't fall out. I just said I can't hang around. And then later on, in
Yeah, yeah.
2000 when they needed a drummer again. I got the call, so that was kind of nice.
But who came up with the name Teenage Fan Club?
I don't. I really don't know.
You don't
I've got,
know?
I've got a memory of different names being kicked about. Norman at one time, I think he thought of calling the band Super Drug. Um, I don't know if
Super
that
drug
was.
like the shop.
Yeah, I'm guessing. I don't know. Anyway, we didn't pursue that. But I honestly don't know who called the band.
All right. Well, yeah, my tech support said that sound and vision a-okay, so that's good. He's actually watching from his iPhone outside, which is very good. And also, Richard Vaughan, he said one of his first gigs that he ever went to was the Fannies. I mean, this is actually really, I find it really funny when people say, they call you the Fannies and everything.
Oh,
But anyway, so it's the Fannies with the brilliant 18 wheeler in support at Manchester Boardwalk, and huge fan ever since, and cherished my first edition of Catholic Education on vinyl. I think
oh,
that's the one that I haven't got. I haven't got that first album,
that's the
Teenage.
first album. That's the one. That's the one I'm on, and it was it was recorded. It's funny. It was recorded in Maryhill, which is very close to where I am. But on the site, they pulled the site down, and there was a swimming pool there. But there used to be a studio there where BMX Bandits recorded their first album, and Teenage Fanclub recorded Catholic Education. And I mean, yeah, it was a very interesting time because I had to stop playing with the band, but then I observed all this, attention that they got. And it was a
Yeah.
pretty exciting time to see this band kind of really start to take off.
Did
Um,
you ever feel like, oh, I wish I didn't leave, or I didn't, so like I wish
oh,
I carried on? So,
I cried myself to sleep every night. I yeah, I was in another band. I was in the BMX Bandits, and I was enjoying that band. And we got in the studio, we put records out, and we got to tour. So I got to do some of that. And I was at uni, and I was there for 4 years, and I finished my degree. And yeah, there was times when it was a bit difficult to watch Teenage Fan Club sign to Geffen Records, sign to Creation, tour America, tour with Nirvana.
yeah,
I was like studying statistics and landfill site, dissertations and all sorts. So I would be lying if I didn't say I didn't feel a little bit jealous sometimes. But the point was, there was no one to be angry at. It had been my decision not to stay with them, and it had been civil, friendly. So there was
yeah,
no big fallout. It was just oh wow, I walked away from that and look at what's happening. But I got to do other things, and I set up my own record label, and and as I say, I eventually, in 2000, started playing with them, and so
yeah.
there's no regrets. There's no reason, no point. I did other things, and I'm
No,
with them now, and
no.
it's good,
'Cause, yeah, because I actually realized that the BMX Bandits album called Life Goes On, because I bought a copy of that, because again, it's another band that I never really got into. But now I'm sort of like trying to get into BMX Bandits. So I bought a copy of Life Goes On, and I found out that you're the drummer at
Yeah,
the time when they recorded that album. So from Teenage Fan Club, you joined BMX Bandits.
yeah. I was kind of with them both at this. Well, I was with, like I say, the very first thing I did was a BMX Bandits B side. They were recording B sides for a single, and then
Yeah,
I was just in from that point on doing gigs and stuff. So yeah, I was in the BMX Bandits for a long time, and we signed to Creation Records and made 3 albums for them, and we got to tour. And Douglas and Norman are good friends. So we were always very aware of what Teenage Fan Club were doing. Sometimes we got to play shows with them. Um,
yeah, yeah. Well, there was an article that I saw recently about Teenage Fan Club, which I think is true for me, because it's like the article said something like they never made it big, although their fans is like people like Kurt Cobain and Liam Gallagher from Oasis said that they're like the best band in the world after Oasis. Like, but then but then it's sort of like some people have never heard of it, which is true. I mean, for me, I mean, I've never heard of Teenage Fan Club until sort of like last year or maybe a few years ago.
yeah,
So what would you say to that sort of like article or that kind of sort of like thinking.
I don't. I mean, I guess there's bands I like that I think more people should like, and it's just kind of how it goes. I suppose other bands can maybe uh, have hit records and have a concentrated period of success, and then it kind of can can die off. I suppose. So
Yeah,
it could be a kind of mixed blessing to be uh, very, very commercially successful. Then if you can't sustain it, the only way is down. I think Teenage Fact have been, I think they've been musically and creatively quite the word's going out of my head, consistent with what they've done. Like, some bands have maybe changed styles a lot or grown very different from what their first records were. But Teenage Fanclub can still play songs from that first album and finish every song with every show with Everything Flows. So
yeah,
they didn't do the disco record or try and do the dance record. There's a
yeah,
consistency there, and there's been a consistent kind of fan base or group of people that have gone with them on that journey,
yeah,
and that's a lot to be, to appreciate, be thankful for. I certainly don't. I'm not
yeah.
thinking the band should have been bigger. I'm thinking, I'm great, the band's still going.
Yeah, well, yes, of course, it was all like, and getting new fans as well. Like myself, was like discovering Teenage
Yes.
Fan Club in
Well,
twenty.
some people bring their grown up children now, so we get the next generation. Oh yeah, my
Well,
granddad's heard of them. Yeah, they're meant to be good.
because even when they did a collaboration with De La Soul, I mean, I'm a big fan of De La Soul in the 90s. I never heard of like De La Soul and Teenage Fan Club until last year when a friend told me about it. It's absolutely amazing. That collaboration was just, I think that's the best.
Well, it's funny you mention that. I mean, I had nothing to do with that, obviously. Brendan O'Hara was the drummer in the group at the time, but I remember, getting a cassette of the track before it was released, or a different mix even, and because Norman was friendly with Douglas and all the rest. And the other night, I was watching with my son the history of hip hop. It's a BBC documentary, how hip hop changed the world.
All right, yeah, yeah.
And De La Soul came on, and I was saying, you know, the Back Teenage Fan Club, when I wasn't with them, they made a record with De La, and I got the track out and listened to it, and I was like, that's really great, and it's actually really cool that they did that, and that's kind of, you have to forget that track exists. I think that was from an album where lots of bands were paired up with, you know,
Yeah, it was so like unusual pairing. So
yeah,
like
yeah.
in that, yeah, yeah.
But
But
also,
that
I
was,
mean, it shows you, it doesn't, because the people say, oh, we've got this guest artist or this person's going to come on and do this, or this collaboration, but it doesn't mean all the De La Soul fans suddenly become Teenage Fanclub fans, it doesn't work like that. It's an interesting thing, but it's also its own thing. But no, I mean, touring with Nirvana when I just would hear about it. Nirvana were exploding, and they'd take Teenage Fanclub on tour. It's an amazing experience, but it doesn't mean everyone who likes Nirvana likes Teenage Fanclub. It doesn't translate that way. Um,
no, yeah,
I don't know. I don't know why some things catch a wave and some things don't, but also some things kind of fall apart, and as
yeah.
well. So,
I think I remember because there's like a classic photo of Teenage Fan Club with all members having long hair and looking into this, so it's a bit distorted, that photograph. And I think I remember seeing that before, but it somehow just didn't register with me, which is a shame. But I mean, it's not really, because it's never too late to appreciate awesome music. So, but anyways, Richard said he was wondering if you played the Reading Festival with the Fannies in 1992 when Everything Flows went off big time. I think it's big time, yeah. Were you
the the answer is no. No, I didn't do any gigs with them until 2000. There was a couple of times when they invited me on stage I was in San Francisco when they were touring the album 13, and at the encore they said, oh, the drummer's got a sore arm, so I wonder if Francis would come up and play, so I went up and played drums along on Everything Flows with Teenage Fanclub in San Francisco. But as I say, it was odd little cameos like that. But no, when that would have been Brendan O'Hare drumming with them in Reading. Um,
Yeah.
I heard all about it. I was very happy for them. Honest.
But even though you're not so like you weren't the drummer of Teenage Fanclub all those years, like from you were the original, which is 1989, I think that time. But then you sort of like left, or you left the band, and then it was Brendan O'Hare, and then Paul Quinn. Because my most favorite, so like Teenage Fanclub album is songs from uh Northern Britain, and my most favorite song is Planets, which I believe you co-wrote. So it was almost so,
Yeah.
so I was thinking, so you're still a part of the band, even though you weren't playing drums for them at the time.
Well, that was odd circumstances. I started a label called Shoeshine Records in 1996, 95, 96, and I would put out initially 7-inch singles, projects I was involved with, bands I was in, and I said to Norman, you and I should record a single for my label Shoeshine Records, and we'll call it. And Norman likes puns, you see. He'll call a song Neil Young, for example, Mellowed Out, like Mellowed Out. And I said, let's do a single. We'll do 2 songs, and we'll call it Frank Blake, like a pun on Frank Black. And I thought that would appeal to his sense of humor. So he said, yeah, okay. So he wrote a song, and I wrote a song. But initially the plan was we were going to try and write a song together. And we went round to his grandmother's house, and I was sitting, he had a guitar, and he had a capo on for that. Let me see if I can get this right. Right? Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think he had the capo on 3rd fret, and he said, and he was just, we were trying things, and I was sitting at the piano, and he went, da, 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 da,
Oh my god.
And he went, you do something. And I was at the piano. And I went, like, da 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 da. Right. Now he liked that. He liked that. He liked that kind of odd chord change. I think if I had done something he didn't like, he would have gone, yeah, and then nothing would have been said about it ever again. But he liked that, and then he finished it off, and he wrote the words. But that was a very nice moment. And then, so I thought, great, we've got a song for the Frank Blake single. And then a little while later, he said, Francis, I think I might keep that song and put it on the next Teenage Fanclub record. Would that be okay? And I was like, tiny little single that's not going to sell anything, or Teenage Fanclub track. Let me think of it. I'll have my people call your people. So I said, yeah, no, that sounds great. So that was, so we were friends, and we were still playing even gigs with the Be Next Bandits. Norman would play sometimes, or socially I would see him a little bit. So I wasn't. So that's how that track came about, which was kind of just particular circumstances.
I really love that. Like I said, it's my most favorite Teenage Fanclub song, and when I found out that it's your song as well, so I'm just really pleased about it. And I was hoping that when I saw you in Dunfermline last year that you would play it, but you didn't. But I saw Norman Blake played it with James Grant and Bernard Butler and Paisley. And that was the first time I actually heard it played live, and I thought it was so beautiful. It was like, oh my god, this song.
That's very nice to hear. But you've hit on a thing which always happens at Teenage Fanclub gigs. They've done so many songs now. People have their favourites, and we'll do a gig, and it seems to have gone really well. People are happy, and they always meet someone who says, "Why didn't you play?"
Yeah.
So we'll be there all night. People have got trains to catch and homes to go to. Come and see us next time. We might play it. So it does, but we do
Well,
still it still pops up in the set, but there's a lot of songs to rotate.
yeah, of course. Yeah. Did you play at Shine On?
Yeah,
You did?
last year.
Yeah. Did you play that? Did you play Planets at Shine On?
Oh, sorry, I can't remember. I don't know. I don't know. I played the gig, but I don't know if we played Planets. I honestly don't remember. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, how was it, by the way? Because I was supposed to go to Shine On last year, and I was really excited about seeing Teenage Fan Club headline the Sunday night. But unfortunately, the girls that I go to Shine On with, they weren't able to sort of like go, so I couldn't go on my own because it's just way too far for me to go there on my own.
Sure.
So like for 4 nights or 4 days there as well. But anyways, so how was it? How did it go?
Oh, it was really great. I mean, it was a great atmosphere. It was very well run. The food was fine.
Yeah.
uh, the gig was good, but I think we had come from we had played in a German festival, and the travel was quite crazy getting there. But the gig itself was fine. I didn't. Sometimes you do these things, and when you arrive and you're trying to figure out where to put your bags and when you eat and when you need to be somewhere, and you don't really get to see a lot of other acts performing. So I didn't. I'm afraid I didn't see very much, but we had a good time. We had a really good time. It was fun.
Oh, it's good. So you think we'll be so like doing again? Will you do it again? So like maybe this year or
Yeah. I don't. I think they probably want to vary the lineup, but I wouldn't say we.
yeah, I
If we
suppose
were
so.
asked
Yeah,
again, we might do it, but there might be they might want to make room for other people for a while.
yeah. Well, so we've talked about so like Teenage Fan Club and BMX Bandits. There's so many other things, but I don't know if these are just sort of like one-off bands that you formed or something. But there's the Radio Sweethearts
Yes.
in 1994. So you're with BMX Bandit at the time, and then you've got another band which is the Radio Sweethearts. Is that
Yeah,
how?
well, I mean, the thing to remember is when I started I did some recording and some gigs with the Groovy Little Numbers, which was Joe's band, and then the BMX Bandits, and also the Boy Hairdressers. And Joe was in 3 of those bands, and Norman was in 2 of them. And then, so very early on, my exposure to bands was that people were always playing with each other, and lineups were always changing or sharing members. So it
Right.
wasn't like.
Okay.
I suppose if you're in a really successful band, you have to just concentrate on that. Uh,
Yeah.
but I always had room to be a kind of jack of all trades, master. So the Radio Sweethearts was a band. It was really because there was a singer, John Miller, who had a great voice. He was a kind of, and he could sing. It was a country band, and he loved Hank Williams. And
Yeah.
um, I used to meet him on the trains, and he used to say, "Come around to the house. I'll play some Hank Williams songs." And I went round to the house, and he would hold up a Hank Williams record and say, This is Move It On Over. This was written before Bill Haley's Rock Around the Clock, and he'd pick up the guitar and sing it. I thought he was going to play the records, but he was. I think it was actually he was just trying to let me hear his voice, and he was a great singer. So I formed this band with him, and who else was in it? Brian Taylor, who had been in the Pastels, and Martin Hayward,
Oh,
who had been in the Pastels. They were on bass and
yeah.
guitar.
I was just
Um,
sort of curious. Was it so like a Glasgow thing to just have all these so like subgroups? Maybe you've so like if you're like in like with Teenage Fan Club, but every single member will probably be in a sub band or a subgroup. Was it so like a done thing in Glasgow or?
I think so, or certainly among some groups in Glasgow.
Yeah.
It just seemed to be, I suppose, for a while. Someone's going to make a record and they don't know how it's going to go, but they need a drummer. Like, oh, Francis might do it. There's a while where I would be like a friend of a friend, so I'd end up being recommended for different things. I don't know why, but I think you're right. I think you could plot it all out. You could see how
And
many
did,
people played with each other in Glasgow. It was a thing that happened. Yeah.
Yeah, because when I had Ross Sinclair from the Soup Dragons a couple of weeks ago, I found out that he's actually in a band with Raymond McGinley as well. It was so like thinking, oh my god, they're also like together. It's all like it's all like interrelated or
Yes,
related to each other. So
very incestuous. I know. I think they should have flat, and yeah, there's a lot of it, and there's probably more to be more
yeah,
dots to be joined. Yeah, yeah.
and the other thing that really I find interesting is so you've had a band with Norman Blake and Raymond McGinley, but you also have one called Astro Chimp with Jerry Love and
Well,
Raymond
yeah,
McGinley.
that was again. That was Shoeshine Records. I was putting out singles and doing one-off projects, and I think I I think I said to Jerry and to Eugene, and then Jerry said, oh, "Who are you going to get to play guitar?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "Well, you asked Raymond," and so I asked said Raymond, but it was like a day in a studio, or it wasn't any gigs or anything beyond that. It was like 1 or 2 days.
Okay, yeah,
Recorded
yeah.
3 tracks and mixed them, and I put it out on Shoeshine Records. And I think Jerry had the name Astro Chimp, so that was that. So it was a project more than a band.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
And
there's things like that, peppered
so
throughout.
Shoeshine Records is this more or less similar to Creeping Band
I
or like
suppose,
the one with Douglas McIntyre, so like
yeah.
record?
I mean, I suppose I would. Douglas was one of these guys that would give me advice and was very. Um, I don't know what I was. I was in the Be Nice Bandits, and it wasn't full time professional, and I wasn't at university anymore, and I didn't want a proper job. So I thought, what can I do? So I thought, I'll start my own record label. So it became this kind of one man operation for a long time. Initially putting out 7-inch singles and just trying to figure out what you do. And yeah, I did all sorts of things. And then I remember Alan McGee got in touch. When I started the label, he's like, "Oh, good luck." He says, "It's changed so much, Francis, in the last few years." And that was then. I mean, it's changed an awful lot since then. But at least when I started, people still bought physical product, and
Yes,
there
the
was shop,
7-inch singles. Yeah,
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 but there
yeah.
was shops to go to buy records, and all that's kind of gone now. So I don't know what
Do you
you
still
know.
have it? Do you still have Shoeshine Records? Do you still release
No,
singles?
no, I don't. I started putting out records by other artists, and I got sent some demos by this amazing singer from New York called Laura Cantrell, and we released her debut album, Not the Trembling Kind, and I called that Spit and Polish. It was a label related to Shoeshine because it was more country roots, Americana music, and
Okay.
then in more recent times, I've released a couple of albums of instrumental music of my own. I released that on. I called it TR7 Records, a division of Shoeshine Records. So it kind of exists as a thing for me to self-release my music now, but
Yeah.
it doesn't operate the way it used to.
Is that the Nice Man one? Because another thing that because you've got an album called Sokihole and Hope, which is a pop opera, and that's Nice Man. I think is that like your group, and yes, well, this morning on my way back to Manchester, I actually saw Hope Street because I know Sokihole Street, but I saw Hope Street, and I was sort of like thinking, is that what the album is about? Which is like Sokihole Street and Hope Street?
Yes, yeah. I used to have an office down in the city centre, and I'd walk up Hope Street and then take a left up to Sucky Street and go and visit my girlfriend. And there was a shop in the corner, Watt Brothers, which is closed now. It's a nice old-fashioned department store. Um, but yes, I had the opportunity to record a solo album. I didn't know what to call it. I didn't want to call it Francis Macdonald, so I came up with this silly name, Nice Man. And it got released in a label in Japan. It got released in a label in Spain, and it was kind of nice and fun. And I played everything on it. And I wasn't very sure about it. I wasn't sure about some of the songs. And then I thought, actually, if I put these songs in a certain order, it tells a kind of story, kind of love story. And then even the songs that aren't so good have a reason to be there. So it's a pop opera now. So this was the kind of this is how I retro engineered the concept of a pop opera for these daft songs I'd written. And yeah, and one song on there is called no, that's I was about to say something that's not true, so I won't say it. I did another album after that with some musicians, including Stuart Kidd, who played bass, I think, and called it Nice Man and Bad Boys. And that there's a song on that called Love Is a Game for Two to Play, and that made it into a film called Wedding Days. So that was kind of fun. So yeah, that was me just writing songs myself and being in charge and
Yeah.
having fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know, I love Sauchiehall Street because every time I go to Glasgow and then I feel like, oh, I'm lost. All I need to do is just look for Sauchiehall Street and then I won't feel lost anymore. I just think that's the best place.
Yeah,
And
well,
it's quite long. It's quite long, that street as well. I walked from one end of Sauchiehall Street to the other end of Sauchiehall Street.
well, you can pronounce it properly, so that's good. Well done. Most people who aren't from Glasgow have a bit of a strange how you say it. It doesn't sound like it was written.
I
But
think
yeah,
I'm learning.
yeah, there'd be lots of kind of famous kind of what Third Eye Centre became the CCA, and there was a club rooftops, and there was kind of nice and sleazies, and there were lots of ABC was a great venue in Glasgow and Sauchiehall Street.
Yeah.
It burned down when the art school burned down. But yeah, there'd be a lot of memories from gig going days along that street.
Yeah, that's really good. And I don't know if you've noticed that there's a Filipino fast food chain there called Jollibee.
Right?
You should go there.
You recommend it?
It's fried chicken, which is the crispiest chicken you ever had.
All right.
It's
I
called
know it.
Jollibee. Because you'll see it's all like a really nice logo of
All right.
a Jollibee.
Good.
But
I'm in.
yeah. So you're back now as the drummer. Oh, you've been back since 2000
Yeah.
and up to the present day. So you've also got Eros Child,
Yeah.
who I saw last night. He was there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's actually got a question for you.
Oh, okay.
He said,
Tell him I spent it. He can't have it back. Sorry.
actually, Stuart Kidd said, who ate the sandwich or something like that.
Right.
But that wasn't his question.
Right.
He
If
said,
you see Stuart Kidd, give him a slap. But okay, no carry on.
well, he said, who have you drawn today?
What am I drawing today? Well, interesting you asked that question because today I've had a bit of a slow day drawing. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Well, I tried to draw Jimi Hendrix today, and I can't share it with anyone. It's not very good. So I've drawn it. So you know what he's talking about? Like about a year ago, second or third week of January last year, I just plucked up the courage to start doing sketches and drawings, and because my daughter had said to me, "Daddy, I'm not going to buy you a sketchbook for Christmas because I bought you one last Christmas that you asked for and you never used it." And I thought, oh, she's right. You know, I had this idea that I would try and learn a bit of sketching or drawing, and I was too shy to put pencil to paper in a book no one was going to see. So then I thought, right, that's a wake up. I'm going to do some drawing. So I had to go at sketching something, and I started putting them online, and sometimes people would say encouraging things or try and guess who had drawn. And I challenged myself to put at least one drawing online every day on my Instagram account. So when we last toured, I'd be sitting in the car drawing and saying, right, who's that? And they'd all have to try and guess. So anyway, today's drawing was supposed to be Jimi Hendrix, but I won't be sharing it with anyone.
You should.
Once I do a drawing of Jimi Hendrix that I'm happy with, I will share it.
No, I was actually getting good at your drawings anyway. I've finally managed to get 3.
I'm Rembrandt. That's brilliant. You can get. People will say that's a really good drawing, and then they all guess who it is, and they're all wrong. And I'm thinking, how I did a drawing if no one knows who it's meant to be. But anyway, thank you for the encouragement.
Well, there was a funny one that you posted on Facebook recently about the stick man of Bob Dylan and yourself. And I was all like thinking, that's the drawing that I do.
Yes, yes. I said, who wants to see a picture of me and Bob Dylan? And then it's two stick men. One says me, and one says Bob Dylan. And they amused me at the time, and it came up as a 10-year-old memory on Facebook. So I'm going to share that again. Yes.
And then you actually, I mean, the Bob Dylan sketches or the drawings that you did for Bob Dylan, they're actually really recognizable because
Thank
I
you.
could tell immediately. That first one I could tell, and then the second one that I saw, I thought, oh, yeah, that's Bob Dylan as well. But some of the others, I just couldn't tell.
I,
Like,
I'm a big fan of Bob Dylan, and he's got such an interesting face. And sometimes when I'm stuck who to draw, I think I'll draw Bob Dylan again. So yes, I've got a bit of a tendency to draw Bob Dylan when there's nothing else going on.
I think there was one that it was, I think it was Brad Pitt.
Maybe
You
I
drew
don't know.
Brad Pitt, and I was so like thinking, oh, I didn't realize it was.
Maybe it wasn't Brad Pitt. Was it Brad Pitt?
I think it was Brad Pitt. I was sort of
Okay.
like trying to sort of like figure it out, and then I couldn't really figure it. But then someone said it's Brad Pitt, and then
Did I say they were right? Did
yeah.
I say it was okay? I mean, I've done quite a lot now, so it's hard to it's hard
So,
to do.
but
But
what do you
it's a
do?
really fun thing to do, though. I do recommend it. It's I kind of I've hit upon this way of doing things, and I surprised myself. Whether anyone
Yeah,
else liked it is a different thing. But I was doing drawings and thinking, go a month ago or 6 months. If I'd seen that drawing, I'd be thinking, I wish I could do that, and I can't. But there's something about how how I've approached it. I'm able to do something which is recognizable, and it's a nice feeling. Anyway.
yeah, yeah. But what do you do with them? Do you sell them to fans or?
No, I've got a. Hang on, I've got like oh, so I've got like they just sit around the room, and there's Neil Young, and I've got like a box that's full of drawings, and a big pile here, and
Oh wow!
I just kind of hang on to them, and I don't
Maybe
know.
do an exhibition or something.
Well, people say that, it was Lewis Capaldi recently for no reason, uh, and I don't know. Tommy Cooper.
Oh
I
yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh yeah, that was the other night. Bernard Manning. Uh,
Oh yeah, yeah.
so just whoever or American Gothic, that painting, that was the guy from it. So I just do them. I take a photo of them, and then I put them in a box. And I suppose eventually I'd like to choose a few and display them somewhere. But I'm not. It's not what I
Yeah.
do. I don't know how you do that, or how much. Would
Well,
anyone come? And
sometimes,
would there be any point to it? But
yeah.
someone has to come along and say, Francis, I'll deal with this for you. And I don't know if anyone will, but that would be. I'd certainly be very happy. More than one person said, "Oh, you should show them somewhere," but I just don't know how really to
Well,
go about it.
maybe sometimes like cafes will probably ask people or artists to sort of like showcase their work or something. It could be one of those. So like a cafe in Glasgow and they will showcase all your drawings there. That
Yeah,
would be
maybe.
nice. The people will be, they will go there. Fans of Teenage Fan Club will actually go there and have a look.
Um, maybe. Maybe. I don't know that it would be that big, but I mean, yeah, maybe. I'll get my thinking cap on. I'd like to
But
show them.
have you been asked if you're selling them or?
Once in a while, someone will say, "Oh, if you're going to sell that, let me know." But I suppose I don't exactly offer them for sale. I haven't really got set up, and I think, well, I could scan them and do prints, but then would that be a faff? I don't know. Yeah, I need to give it some thought. But I thought the most important thing for now is just to keep doing it and try and learn more or get more practice in and worry about
Yeah.
that other stuff. But someone has expressed an interest in giving me an exhibition, but it's gone a bit quiet, so I don't know. We'll see.
So you do one a day, or is it more
At
than
least
one?
one a day. At least one a day.
At least one a day.
Usually
Yeah.
more. Yeah.
Well, going back to your drumming, because I've noticed that You know, when I found out that you're actually a Scottish BAFTA nominated composer,
Mm.
so this is more sort of like a classical music now. Did you have sort of like a classical music training,
No,
or
no,
you
no, I
didn't?
didn't. I didn't. And I suppose I came to to listening to classical music quite late as well. I didn't really have a way in. I liked maybe some soundtrack composers and things like that, but and Morricone. But I just sort of started making the effort to listen to classical music first of all, and also I I went into an old record shop, well, a record shop that doesn't exist anymore, in Byers Road in Glasgow, and
Mm.
they were playing this piano music, and I said, I walked out the shop and I thought, if I don't go back in and ask who that was, I'll never know who it was. So I went back and I said, who are you playing? And he said, oh, it's Ludovico Einaudi. It's an album called Nightbook. So I bought it. And what was interesting to me was it was fairly clear, direct, almost simple piano melodies, played very nicely and recorded very well. And
Yeah.
it sounded like soundtrack music. And it sounded not a million miles from the kind of thing I would do with two fingers. No, he doesn't use two fingers, but the sort of things I would pick out on the piano and then discard, thinking that's not proper music. So Ludovico Einaudi's music inspired me to explore the piano a bit more, and then I got the idea to try and write for some classical musicians, and I thought I'm going to figure out how to do this, and I'm going to try. I don't want to play something and then hand it over to an orchestrator or an arranger. I want to try and be responsible for all the notes. So how do you harmonize? How low does a viola go? How do you present the music for a cello? How do you voice four parts? Um, and I started stumbling through that and teaching myself. And
Wow.
yeah, so then I made an album called Music for String Quartet, Piano and Celeste.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was a kind of a challenge, and I learned a lot doing it. Um, so that
And
opened up
that's
a new
what
world.
you used your name for that as well. You used Francis Macdonald to release that album.
I did, I did.
Not Nice Man or
No, I
no.
don't go in that nonsense. I was a composer now. No, I suppose I didn't want to be too high concept about it. And what am I going to call myself? I just thought, well, I shall call myself Francis McDonald, and I'll call it Music for String Quartet, Piano and Celeste, because that's what it is. And I'll put it. And then it got some nice attention, and in fact, one track was picked up and played quite a lot on Classic FM, which was really odd and very different, and very nice. It's a new world, really.
Oh,
It's almost like
yeah, yeah.
with Shoeshine Records, you'd get music recorded and then press it up and then figure out how to distribute it, how to promote it, who writes about this music, who plays it on the radio. So this was doing all that, but with a different kind of music. You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
who would review this? Who would write about this? Who would play this? Where would it get played? Um, so doing what I'd done before, but in a different genre was very kind of
Yeah. And
interesting.
you've done a lot of TV and film music as well, because you've got your own website, which is francismcdonald.com. And for anyone who's so like interested in finding out all these films that you wrote music for and the TV as well, there's actually one that caught my eye. It's Eminent Monsters, which is like a manual for modern torture. How
Yeah.
do you write music for so like
Well, yeah, that was very interesting. It's about CIA techniques and the suggestion that some of their techniques where they technically torture, and
yeah.
the director was a fellow called Stephen Bennett who makes really good, powerful documentaries. I had worked with him before, but what I did with the way I like to try and work when I work on television music and in particular documentaries, I will talk to the director about the project and the subject, what it entails, the mood, the tone, the atmosphere, and I'll make a lot of notes. And then I'll go away and just start writing music before I've seen any footage or any film, anything.
Okay.
And just
Yeah.
back to Ludovico Einaudi, back to piano music sounding soundtrack-esque. I'll sit and think, what can I this is a dark subject. There's going to be some somber moments. There's going to be some reflective moments. There's going to be some uncomfortable moments, dark and disturbing, and just try and write some music along those lines. And then that means, hopefully, when the editor starts assembling the footage, the edit might last 4 weeks or 8 weeks or even 10 weeks. When they start putting sequences together and shaping it, they could put any music on just as a placeholder, just to bring it to life a little bit and to help shape it. But if they're using my music early on, it gets bedded in, and they'll say, like, that track works, Francis, but we need it longer or faster, or it needs to change more. And it's very easy to rewrite something of yours. Yeah. It's easier to rewrite something of yours than it is to kind of match a piece of classical music that they've been using and they really love. You've got to copy it, but make it the same, but different, but better. And so with Imminent Monsters, it's a song about psychological disorder, and it's uncomfortable in places and reflective in places, and I just try and write music that suggests that, you know. But the next project could be very different,
because it seems like a completely different thing altogether for writing Planets, or so like writing music for Teenage Fanclub. Is there ever a time that you're actually sort of like thinking, I'm gonna incorporate some of these sort of like classical like things to a Teenage Fanclub sort of like song? Or
to be honest, apart from Planets, I've always felt that with Teenage Fanclub, my job is to play the drums. You know, when they needed a drummer, they asked me, and they were asking me to play the drums. They weren't saying, come and
write music,
song ideas, or give us arrangement ideas, or do a string arrangement for that. And I'm very happy just to play drums with that band and enjoy the experience with that band. And that means when I do things out with the band, and I can express myself and what I like and want to do, it works very well for me that it's separate. So I don't really bring a lot of that kind of music to Teenage Fanclub. I mean, we'll all pitch in ideas maybe when we're working on a track, and it's important everyone can feel they can make suggestions and rely on work, or they won't. But it's an atmosphere where that's invited. But yeah, I'm just the drummer in that band, and that suits me.
And another one that I wanted to ask you is the because we're near Salford Quays, and the Lowry as well. So you did some music for the Lowry Gallery in 2016. Is it still there?
I think so.
Still not like find it if we go to the Lowry.
Yeah. If you go to the Lowry Gallery, there's a plaque, and it plays this piece of music every half hour, 5 days a week. What happened was I was on tour with Teenage Fanclub actually, and a friend got in touch who was in charge of an orchestral recording session, and she said, Francis, we're recording next week with a string orchestra, 2 brass, and 2 percussion. And if you've got a piece of music, we'll record it and you can use it. If we can use it for promo purposes, you can have the recording. Yeah. And obviously to pay that amount of musicians and the recording, it's very expensive. So to get the opportunity to record with that thing, that set up for free, I thought I have to take this chance, but I'm on tour and I don't have a piece of music written. And then I thought, well, okay, last night I visited the Lowry Gallery and I enjoyed it, so I'm going to make Lowry my subject, as my jumping off point for writing music. So I was thinking of kind of northern colliery bands, and also melancholy, also humour, what some of Lowry's paintings say to me. And I wrote it on my computer and tweaked it, and then they recorded it, and I couldn't be present for the recording session because I was on tour with Teenage Fanclub. But the track came through, and it sounded nice. And then I thought, well, I don't know what to do with this. Why don't I send it? Why don't I ask the Lowry Gallery if I can send them this music? So I just sent them an email, said, look, I've written a piece of music inspired by a visit. Can I send it to you? And he said, yeah, you can send it. And I sent it, and they came back and said, we really like this. We'd like to play it in the gallery. And I said, well, that's great. So it's got this little kind of, this kind of little space in amongst the paintings that it inspired. It's kind of,
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's good. Like I said, I mean, I just live near. Well, not very near, but I could actually just go to the Lowry and just sort of like look for it and say, "Oh my God, this is like a teenage fun club." So,
well, I went. I had some time in Manchester. I think I was waiting on a connection for a train or something. I had a couple of hours, and I took the tram along to Salford and went to the Lowry, and I didn't come at the right time, and they weren't playing the music. But I saw the plaque on the wall, so I went to take a picture of the plaque. It says, thanks, Francis Macdonald. And
yeah.
one of the gallery assistants said, "Oh, sorry, yeah, you can't take pictures of the paintings." And I said, "Oh, I'm just going to take a picture of this plaque. So, it's my I wrote the music." She said, "Oh, are you the composer?" I said, "Yeah, yeah." I said, "Oh, I like that." And I thought, well, that's quite nice because she has to listen to it half a dozen times every day. So if she likes it, that's rather than going, "Oh God, was that you?" It's doing my head in. Um, but so I haven't heard it in situ, but I've seen the plaque. So.
Well, so you're a composer and artist and everything. You also manage bands as well, because it says that you manage Camera Obscura, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and the Vaselines.
I did manage the Bastions for a while, and yep, but I don't now. They kind of manage themselves, but still pals with them. But yes, I've managed Camera Obscura since 2005.
And do you still do? You still manage them, or?
I do watch this space. They've been doing stuff, but yeah, they're a great band. Tracy Ann Campbell is an amazing talent, and they're a great bunch of people. Obviously, they had some tragedy with the passing of Katie Lander, who played keyboards, and she was a great person, Katie, and it was a sad time. And I suppose there was every chance the band would have stopped then, but time passed, and they played some gigs more recently, and um, but yeah, I kind of crossed paths with them at a time when they didn't have management and they weren't sure what they were going to do, and there was just a few things that I felt I could help them with. Um, it's a bit like doing you can do the washing up for someone else, but you can't do it for yourself. You go to someone's house; it's easy to do the dishes, but your own dishes pile. So I could like do as I say, not as I do. I could use some of my knowledge because I'm not in this band. I can observe it and make some suggestions as to what to do, and use what I'd learned from being in bands and also from putting out records. And it was a great experience and very different again.
Yeah, yeah,
Not really a creative involvement, just trying to give good advice to be a sounding board or give good counsel. But I
yeah,
think Tracy Ann is an amazing songwriter, an amazing singer. I think the band are great. And so it's a different buzz to see them getting on and doing stuff. It's not. I don't wish I was on stage playing a tambourine or drumming, uh,
yeah.
but I get to do that with other in other ways as well. So
Have you
yeah,
ever got them to sort of like support Teenage Fan Club, or have they been in a sort of like gig together? Or
we played a Spanish festival, I think, a long time ago. But I'm quite good at compartmentalizing my life, so I don't try too much crossover for things to go wrong. There used to be a television show, Wurzel Gummidge. I put on a different head for different jobs. So when I've got my camera obscura head on, I don't have my teenage fan heads off in a box somewhere else. So keep the stuff up.
Well, Aiden said that it's really interesting that with music for the Lowry. So, yeah, he must go and hear it. So he'll go and sort of like go to the Lowry as well.
Okay.
Um, the composer bit when you play the drums, and what I'm gonna ask you is, I've never seen you so like twirl. You don't do the twirl, but the one thing that I saw you, it's almost like you're conducting when the when you're playing the drum.
Really?
Is that part of sort like your classical sort like music? So when there's a bit there that's sort of like you go like this.
Do I? I don't know what I do. I mean, people used to say to me years ago, they'd say, see when you're playing drums, close your mouth. What do you mean about that? I just my mouth would do this thing. I suppose I'm like trying to keep the beat going or trying to show people I'm into it. I don't know, but
Yeah,
I'm not like going right. We'll have the French horns in now.
it's actually really good, but it's not like made me cry because when I saw you doing that, because I was sort of like, because some people, some drummers, they will do the twirling when there's like a gap there. They will twirl before they
Why?
actually hit the.
No, no,
Oh, you don't do that.
I would do that and drop my drumsticks, and then I wouldn't come in at the right bit, and the whole thing would fall apart. So, you know, yeah, no twirling, not for me. I was never taught.
So it made me cry that one because I was just sort of like thinking about the way you do it.
All right.
And also another one that's really amazing is when you hit the is it the cymbals or the but from the front. So, like,
Oh, I see. Right.
is that, is that your sort of like your own um style or your own sort of, or
Eh,
did you learn that from someone?
I think I know what you're trying to see if you've got a symbol, right? Let's use this. This Joy Gabriel Young now becomes a symbol, right? And you've got your drumstick, right?
Yeah.
So usually you whack a cymbal, but if you hold the drumstick at whatever that is, 90 degrees to the cymbal and do that, then you get a different kind of chime effect, right?
All right. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
my
You.
cymbals
Yeah.
are usually angled towards me, right? So how do I do this? Angled towards me. So they're not flat onto me, they're like that. And so to get at 90 degrees would be a bit more awkward because so it's easier to go around the front and get the 90 degrees because the
All
angle
right.
rather than fishing down there. So that's what it is. But it's only occasionally I just like that little chime sound, that quiet part. And I'm feeling very self conscious now.
No.
What am I going to be doing my
No.
arms next time playing on gigs? Oh God, is my mouth closed as well? Anyway,
No, it's amazing because you've got your own style as well, which is good.
right.
Because whenever I go to a gig, I always sort of like make sure that I can see the drummer because I just think drummers are fascinating. It's so like really exciting to watch. Like Stuart Kidd, that was actually the first time because I saw him play the guitar, and I've seen him sort of like a few times play the guitar, but I've never seen him play the drums. And as last night, he was absolutely amazing. It's just really incredible. Like
Drums
playing.
are kind of. I think people don't appreciate the uh, the like. I've once described drums as the most physically connected instrument in rock music or whatever, because it is. You're kind of telling everyone this is where the beat is, and you're kind of making people dance, and you're really you're kind of you're right in the center of things and right in the center of the sound,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
very physical. You're doing it. You could brush a guitar with your thumb and have the gain right up, and it'd be really really loud. But the drums, the sound, the natural sound of the drums comes from them being, you know, played properly, and whack the center of the skin with a bit of wood, nice and confidently. Yes, it goes through a microphone through a speaker, but you're creating this acoustic sound which has power, and it's very satisfying to drive a song along and play it. Now it's very satisfying to play any instrument, of course. And when Teenage Fanclub did the creation shows, and Brendan and Paul were playing drums most of the night, I was playing the same songs but playing acoustic guitar or playing keyboards or shaking a tambourine or singing a harmony. And it was funny to be part of a song but from playing a different role in the song for the first time. But the
yeah.
drums are it's really a special thing to be the drummer. But unless you're the drummer, it's hard to, as you can tell, hard to articulate or explain what that is.
Well, we've been sort of like talking for more than an hour now. I've only got a couple more questions for you.
Okay.
Um, have you ever had any sort of like accidents or a drumming disaster like when you're playing drums? Because you've been playing since you were 14. So have you ever sort of like fallen off your drum chair or whatever?
I think, have I? I feel I should have. I've certainly dropped the drumstick a few times. I don't think so. I mean, occasionally something's not tightened properly, and your cymbal starts to do that during the gig, and you're in the middle of a song. But no near decapitations or anything like that. I think I'm fairly lucky thus far. But
Yeah. I've got to ask you, apart from Stuart Copeland, do you have any drumming heroes? Or
I
is he
love.
one of your heroes as well? So like,
I like Stuart Cotland, but I love Ringo.
all right, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I love Ringo. I just think what he did was always so sympathetic, so perfect. I
yeah,
love Hal Blaine, who played on a lot of Beach Boys records, a lot of 60s hits.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
he played rock pop songs, but he was a jazzer. So he swings while he rocks. And this is a thing, when I was young, my drum teacher was into Alan Parker, who's great, was into jazz music. And um, I always remember what my favorite part of the lesson, you'd be playing a beat and you would do a fill. And you'd make the fill different every time. And he said once, don't just play it like you're getting on with the job, put some feeling into it. And I hadn't ever thought of the drums being played with feeling, because I thought of them as being just a kind of rock noise thing, like people with guitars or saxophones played with feeling, like a drummer. But when he said that, and I started trying to be slightly more expressive, it had
yeah.
a lasting effect. So I know there's a little bit of jazz in my sensibility when I play, but I really see it in someone like Hal Blaine. He swings away. So Hal Blaine and Ringo come to mind.
Ringo,
Um,
yeah. Well, your drawing of Ringo actually is very, very good. That's is very much like Ringo.
I agree. Yes, it's a wonderful likeness, Francis. I'd like to buy it off you for a long time. Thank you. Good. We're all agreeing. Give me Ringo.
So, my last question now is: what would your any advice to sort of like aspiring drummers? Like, what
Advice
you
to
like?
aspiring drummers. Well, now, uh, I think to begin with, if you're just wanting to learn about the drums, listen to different drummers and think about playing with expression. Uh, if you're recording or doing a gig, never go for a fill that you might not get. Right? Um, People don't like to see you swinging and missing, um,
Okay, yeah, yeah,
which can mean, and that doesn't mean be boring. It just means just don't set yourself up for a fall, I guess. And I suppose as well, I think the best drummers play the songs, listen to the songs. They don't want the drums to be the loudest thing in the mix. They don't want fills from start to finish. And if the song doesn't require very much at all, you shouldn't be giving it very, very much. So try and be, really think in terms of a collaborative musical sense of being sympathetic. That's what comes to mind. But I don't usually go about dispensing wisdom or take it from you, this is how you should do it. But since you ask, I suppose that's some of the things I
yeah.
think.
But would you say that it would be better for them to sort of like go for drum lessons, or
Actually, I
well, it
would.
depends.
I would. I think even just a few to begin with would I would recommend. I mean, there were drummers who didn't go to lessons who are really good. So it's not. But I don't think. I think it can only help to have
If
a
you're, yeah,
to have a
uh,
professional drummer watch what you do and give you some advice. I think I would recommend. I'm really glad I did. I'm really glad I did it at such a young
yeah,
age.
yeah. And did they help you with your classical music that you're making? Did you sort of like,
A tiny bit, because I did learn some notation, but rhythms and reading the notes. I learned a little bit, but only a little bit. That's really more to do with having a piano plugged into a computer and and um, and playing it in and seeing the notes and moving them about. That,
yeah?
yeah.
Well, Spence Roberts said that love Francis drumming. So
Oh,
yeah, he's a fan of yours. So Spence
thank you,
Roberts
friends.
and
That's so kind.
Spence Roberts is a drummer as well. in a band with a couple of guys from the Mighty Mighty. So yeah, I haven't seen them, but hopefully someday I will see them. So the last one now, really, this is the last one now. What's next for Teenage Fan Club? Do you have any gigs planned or new material or what
Uh,
is next
there are plans. I should probably leave it to so
until
the correct information can be announced at the correct time.
until
Um,
it's official?
watch this space, I will say.
Watch this space. Okay. But definitely, I mean, I look forward to going to another Teenage Fan Club gig. So, like, hopefully you'll play Manchester, Liverpool, or somewhere closer. Because Dunfermline is nice, but it's just, it's just a bit too far from me.
Yes, I think we'll be. Yes, I don't. I think we'll be playing places other than Dunfermline in due
Yeah.
course. So we'll see you. We'll see you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm really glad that you still so, like, talk to us, even though it's already after 3 o'clock
Oh
here.
yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Yeah, my time management was dreadful today, but we got there. I know. I've had a really nice time, and thank you for taking the interest, and thanks for letting me blather. And
Oh, no, thank
we'll
you.
see you
Thank
at the
you
next
so much. I'll see you. Yeah, I'll see you again soon.
next gig.
Take care
Okay,
always. Yeah.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you,
All right.
Francis. Bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye. There you go. Oh my god, I'm so glad that we finally got to like talk to Francis Macdonald because I thought it wasn't going to happen, but yeah, he's he was here and he's absolutely amazing. Oh my god, and thank you all so much for joining us live. Like I said, I mean, Teenage Fan Club, I just love them, and it's I'm so glad I actually discovered them last year, and I've got a lot of their albums and everything. I just love that band so much. But anyways, so next week we're gonna have another amazing drummer to interview, and also like related to like I'd say a Glasgow. I don't think he's from Glasgow, but it's a Glasgow band. So yeah, do keep an eye out for the guest announcement post. I'm gonna do it sometime tomorrow. But for now, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I mean, it's only like a few hours left of it, anyways. And as always, love music, love life, and love drummers. Oh my god, Francis McDonald is amazing. I'll see you all next week. Bye for now. Bye.